And now it's time for the real news with your host, Farron.
Hello and welcome to the Real News. We have a lot to cover here today. Skyrocketing gas prices, the bailout of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, Hurricane Ike. Our guest today is going to be John Phil, a first responder on 9/11 and founder of the feelgoodfoundation.org. Many may be unaware, thousands of first responders have become ill as a result of breathing the air at Ground Zero. They were told by the EPA the air was safe to breathe. He will join us soon after our first break. In the interview, we will discuss the news and high gas prices and go to the phones. So you can call in and give your opinions also. And there should be plenty on the spike in fuel prices that we witnessed yesterday. I intend to go into the gas situation after the second break, and I'm interested in getting your phone calls from the public, what you think about the situation of riding down the road and over the course of 2 hours, gas going up 50 cents a gallon, fuel that was already in the tanks, and today on my way to the station, I saw gas anywhere from $3.66 to $4.19. So I want to know what the public thinks about this situation, being scared into going and buying a whole bunch of gas and prices rising like that. So we're going to go into that after the second break, after our interview with Mr. Phil. And to begin with today, we're going to turn it to Brian to get us started.
This is an article by David Bollier entitled Wall Street's Next Target, Roads and Bridges. A news article at the end of August in the New York Times business section gives a big wet kiss to the idea of privatizing the nation's bridges, roads, and civil infrastructure. In a nearly 40 column inches, reporter Jenny Anderson casts investors as thwarted social workers ready to do their part in helping fix America's crumbling infrastructure. Nearly everyone quoted in the story is an investment banker or investor. Politicians are quoted only to bemoan the sad state of roads and bridges, cry about their budget deficits, and wring their hands over the lack of viable solutions. The obvious solution is private investment, or at least that's the only solution that the Times explores. Anderson supplies no critical analysis of why the governments and politicians are failing to make needed infrastructure investments, or how government might pursue public-spirited alternatives to private equity. Instead, we hear Norman Mineta, a former U.S. Transportation Secretary and now an advisor to Credit Suisse, blandly explain budget gaps are starting to increase the viability of public-private partnerships. The Times story amounts to a hot tip to the investor class. Vulnerable public assets await your predatory attention. Big return on investment assured. Republicans and investors have long rallied against big government while enjoying government's liquidity backstopping, hence Bear Stearns, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and government borrowing to finance reckless foreign wars. Now that such bleeding of government has led to crumbling infrastructure, Wall Street, in a fine thank you to its benefactor, wants to go in for the kill. Groups like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and the Carlyle Group have amassed some $250 billion to take public infrastructure private. Behind all the business speak, allow me to offer a plain speak translation of what the New York Times business section declared today. Hurry, 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 step right up and sell off your public infrastructure treasures and financed by generations of previous taxpayers. Give them to Wall Street, whom you just bailed out at discount prices, and let them earn fantastic guaranteed rates of return for decades to come while cutting amenities and ignoring evolving public needs. You poor schlumpy taxpayer can continue to shoulder the high-risk long-term investments. And if any of those public assets begin to look attractive, say the internet, Wi-Fi spectrum, or federally financed drug research, why, we'll be sure to swoop down at the first and take them away from you as well. After all, we have more money and better access to elected leaders than you do. Now, that's the end of the article, by the way. In my opinion, once again, the American taxpayer comes to defend the title World Heavyweight Champion Sucker. So now, not only do we get hosed with levels of taxation that would have made our founding fathers turn over in their graves, but our extorted tax money is then given to Wall Street after stealing their own shareholders' money who then proposed to lease our public infrastructure that we the people already bought and paid for, and then charge us a toll to use it. People, if this doesn't boil your blood and get you out of your lazy boy, then in the words of my comrade here, God help us all.
All right, well, that's a very interesting story we need to keep up with. In the interest of having John Phil on today, I wanted to report something that was reported by CBS News on August 22nd, 2003. White House molded EPA's 9/11 reports. The Environmental Protection Agency's internal watchdog says White House officials pressured the agency to prematurely assure the public that the air was safe to breathe. A week after the World Trade Center collapse, competing considerations such as national security concerns and the desire to reopen Wall Street also played a role in the EPA's air quality statements, the report said. The New York Times, which reported on the Inspector General's findings before they were made public, points out that officials from the EPA and from the White House criticized the report, saying investigators misunderstood the complexity of the situation after the terror attack. The agency's initial statements in the days following the September 11, 2001 attack were not supported by proper air quality monitoring data and analysts. EPA's Inspector General, Nikki Tinsley, says in a 155-page report released late Thursday, there is no evidence that airborne asbestos in the World Trade Center area posed a long-term health risk, but no study of the effects on the general public has actually been completed. But a Mount Sinai study of rescue and recovery workers found that 78% had suffered lung ailments. Now, this is something we're going to discuss today. Our guest, John Phil of the feelgoodfoundation.org. A large number, thousands actually, of first responders that put their lives in harm's way on 9/11 are having serious health problems. As the report stated, 78% tested positive for lung ailments, and even more revolting is the fact that they were told by Christy Todd Whitman that the air was okay to breathe. And also, there is some evidence the White House rushed this information out and purposely edited it to be more positive. Also, the story of the illnesses related to 9/11 are practically ignored by our press. Some estimates claim that possibly 30,000 citizens, mainly firemen and rescue workers, will have life-threatening illnesses from this event. So this is our subject today. Again, our guest will be John Phil of the feelgoodfoundation.org, and after our interview, we would like to give you the opportunity to call in and give us your opinions. So we're going to go to a break now, and we'll come back with our interview. Carpick on The Real News, and our email is onair@therealnewsradio.com. Our website is therealnewsradio.com. I urge everyone to go to it and look at some of the videos we've put up, and also feel free to call us or email us any videos that you would like to see, and we might put them on our website. We had a little problem getting in touch with Mr. Phil. Actually, he is in a interview at the moment, so he had sent us a video about the first responders and their plight. So we're going to play that for you today because we're not going to be able to have our interview with Mr. Phil. We're going to have to reschedule that. So whenever you have that ready, Ty, just let me know and we'll go to it. You ready? Okay, go ahead and play it.
My name's David Miller. On September 11th, 2001, along with hundreds of my fellow troops, I went to Ground Zero. No one asked us, no orders were given. We went because our city, our country, our neighbors were under attack. And we knew what to do, or at least we thought we did.
Anybody with half a brain would probably look at that cloud and say, this can't be good for you. But, unfortunately, when you're called to war, you don't say, well, I'm not going in there, you just go.